Welcome to another episode of High Output AI, where Elliot and Tom discuss all the tools and techniques that make AI happen.
It's recording at that point. How are you, mate?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. I've had a coffee. I'm about to have a second. Let's go wild.
Let's do it. Hello, listeners, as well. Welcome to the show. Don't forget to join the Discord, where more people are showing up, which is cool. But without further ado, because we have a lot to get through today, we're going to talk about startups in the
So
AI.
many startups.
Yeah, 19 to be precise. And we're going to go through a few at different stages of their life, some that use AI, some that build AI, and talk about whether Tom and I, if we theoretically had money, would invest in these startups.
Well, we do theoretically have money,
well,
but
yeah.
I don't think they're going to take our checks for...
$45. Yeah, no, 100% no. But look, there's obviously a lot of action in this space at the minute. Relevant piece of news, OpenAI just raised a $175 million fund. So, you know, there's lots going around. Tom and I have obviously been in this world for a while, and we thought it'd be interesting to talk about these various companies. Now, there's a hell of a lot more than 19 companies out there. We just picked 19 because that's just how many we ended up with. So if you're a founder of an AI company listening and you're not on this list, don't feel like we left you out on purpose. There's plenty of other great companies.
Join the Discord and tell us we left you out.
Yeah. Just come in there and verbally abuse us for leaving you out of this episode.
Or don't. But what I hope is that in like 3 years' time, we can look back on this and see how wrong we were about all of these companies, or how right we were, and who would have been theoretically much more wealthy than the other person off the back of this for investing your $45.
That's it. Yeah.
Alrighty, yep. At the end of it, if you had to put $45 in any of them,
Yep.
you
All
get
right.
to pick one of them.
We get to pick one to get $45. All right. Done. All right. So how do we want to tackle this? We've sort of broken them into 4 categories: early stage, scale up, and whether they create AI. So we're saying AI is at their core, or whether AI is part of a feature that they offer. Any particular one you want to dive into first?
No, but I thought we'd just give a little bit of background to the structure. So we want to talk about startups today, and we want to just do a little bit of a canvassing of the space. Once again, this isn't going to be completely exhaustive, and we're sorry if we left you off the list. But what we wanted to do was discuss around the topic, which was our episode about two episodes ago, which is AI a core or a feature in products? And it's off the back of a few things this week. Adobe's had some big moves with their features that they've released in the generative space. Obviously, Elliot just mentioned the news with OpenAI's fund, and we'll actually see that a fair few names that we mentioned here have actually been backed by OpenAI at some point. So what we wanted to do was discuss that point around, are these companies that are raising money in the AI space at their fundamental level a AI company, or are they building products with AI as a feature? And that's a major split. And then as well, what we thought we'd do is we'd split it across size or maturity as well, between early stages or scale-ups as well. There's no hard and fast rule here. Elliot and I kind of stuck a finger in the wind to categorize these 4. So if we categorize you incorrectly as an early stage when you're a scale-up, once again, please join the Discord and let us know. But yeah, what I was thinking is, why don't we start with some familiar names first, which are kind of the top right bucket up here that we've got, which is the scale-up cores, just to get things rolling. And so in that we've got Hugging Face, Anthropic, Character, DeepL, and Shield AI. Anyone you want to tackle first, mate?
Let's just work down the list, I reckon. Otherwise, I'm
Yep.
100% going to lose track of where we're up to. So,
Exactly.
Hugging Face. I put these folks on the list. Look, if you're in the AI world and you haven't heard of Hugging Face,
You're not in the AI
you're
world.
not in the AI world. But, you know, I would say they're almost
different
out of the
simulation.
bucket of startups entirely. They're huge now, but they're a massive part of the AI ecosystem. And I put them on here because I totally missed the mark on these folks. I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but for a long time, I just avoided Hugging Face. Not for any sensible reason. I didn't get it. I didn't like it. It felt like, why wouldn't you just use GitHub? And when I finally came around, started using it, started playing around, I felt like an idiot. This is one that I definitely would not have put my $45 in early, but should have.
So what has made you come around to the Team Hugging Face?
So early days, I was very skeptical about everybody trying to build a community. I think this was peak Web3 hype where people would just build Discords and raise a bunch of money from unsuspecting people. But I never really looked in with enough depth into what they were doing behind the scenes. And their hosted model platform, things like Gradio, which is a fantastic Python library, which I think they actually brought in as opposed to made themselves. I can't recall. It's really just bringing a lot of really good tools together. And the pre-trained models that you can get from Hugging Face are really easy to use. And I think a little bit of it is that they've survived. There's that natural thing that the longer they're around, the more you'd hope that they must be doing something right. But interacting with their platform has always been really positive, and I hope to see them continue. I think one of the worst fates for them would be to get a buyout by GitHub and get rolled in and disappear. I think they're nice on their own.
So who's their customer? Who are they going after? What do they do from a business point of view?
So similar to GitHub in the code hosting platform type space, but specifically around AI, you can push a model up there as an AI developer. You can run a little demo on their infrastructure. They have business level plans as well for storing model weights and running models and things like that. So it's a big developer platform that they have. Their customer, I think, primarily is the developer. But a lot of people share demos for the consumer on a Hugging Face hosted link. So it's really great for people to be able to come in and play around with models without needing to run them locally and set up CUDA on their GPU and all that.
Yeah, and we're both a big fan here of the developer place. So, and they've got a lot of momentum behind them. So I think in 3 or 4 years' time, when we rewatch this episode, Hugging Face will be sitting there. Now, I'm going to break order on number 1 already and just jump across. And the reason why is that I came across them a couple of weeks back, and they're kind of similar to Hugging Face, but they're doing a lot more commercial route, and that is Mosaic ML. And I've put them in the core early stage bucket. So Mosaic ML is a company that deploys and trains generative AI models. And the reason why they're not just an infrastructure company that allows you to do the pipes and wires around it is they've recently gone and built their own open source language model. They've called it MPT-7B, which I assume stands for 7 billion. And it's and they've got something called their Mosaic ML Foundation series, which is they build their own open source foundation models. Now, MPT-7B is a transformer model trained from scratch on 1 trillion tokens of text and code. It's open source, available for commercial use, and matches the quality of Llama 7 billion. It was trained on Mosaic ML platform in 9.5 days with 0 human intervention at a cost of $200,000.
That's pretty cool.
It is. So to me, this is the reason why I bring them up with Hugging Face is they seem to be doing this, but a lot more. This seems like you use Hugging Face at home for your personal projects, and then you'd use something like Mosaic at work for your because work makes you use it. Basically, they've made the list into AI ML world because they're building these foundation models, and the way that it looks like they're going to make money is they get you to build with their models, and then it's just easier to train, host, and deploy all through their systems. But anyway, they look pretty cool. They hit the news for this open source model of how cheap it was to run and the accuracy of it. But if they keep open sourcing stuff as well, they'll get our vote.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any idea, have they raised any money recently or anything like that?
I believe they probably have. If I just keep saying words, I'll probably be able to while we Google.
Yeah, very good. I mean, it looks cool. Having a look through their website, there seems to be a nice platform play, a little bit of BYO, cloud as well, so you can run these models on various different cloud providers, which I like. I'm not a big fan of vendor lock-in. 200K is still a lot of money, but I imagine that on top of this, they offer sort of fine-tuning for these models for your individual case. I think really the use case of people fully training from scratch a large language model is pretty limited. So, yeah. Nice one.
They have raised raised a round from Lux, but it's all pretty under wraps. But
there you go.
So Lux Capital, which is a pretty decent name in the space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, sorry to break order, but I thought that was a good off the back of Hugging Face.
That's all right. We can, wildcard sort of behavior is expected on this show. Jumping back to the core scale-ups. Next one on our list is Anthropic. Now, we've talked about Anthropic a lot on this show. I would probably have left them off this list because they're just like mega and have raised so much money, it's ridiculous. But they just raised $450 million this week. So I thought, why not? I'll throw them back on the list.
Yep. And so what have they done since they raised their $300 million in Google Cloud credits from Google?
To be honest, I don't know the details. All of it kind of blurs. It was so recent that it's hard to know what started after that round versus before.
Yep.
I think they're coming forward as being a decent competitor to somebody like OpenAI. But it's going to be hard to win in this space, I think.
Yeah, it is. Like, it's pretty competitive, and like, it's competitive from talent and OpenAI. We are skeptical of OpenAI's moat that they have, and so OpenAI, which has massive head start on these companies, makes it tough for them.
Yeah, definitely. Look, in terms of investment in Anthropic, I would have loved to have been in one of the early rounds. I think the upside would have been amazing. But I think we're at a point now where my $45 is literally less than 1/millionth of what they raised. So I think they
some of these companies that go from like $5 million raised to $350 million raised at $1 billion valuation within a year. Yeah. Hopefully we get to put our $45 in that.
Yeah, you'd hope so. I mean, they're so hard to pick, though. I'm sure for every Anthropic that raises $500 million, there was 10, 15 others that said, "Yeah, we'll do our own AI models," and went nowhere.
Well, this is turning quite well, and we didn't plan this, but let's talk about AI21, which I came across today. And the reason is they raised $64 million back in July last year to be an OpenAI rival. And they basically just make their own LLMs. And
cool.
So, I'd never heard of them before today. I think this is like the takeaway for me today as well, is that like you and I literally have a podcast in this space and we spent 40 episodes talking about it. I discovered 2 more unicorns that I'd never heard of and found AI21, which is like just casually valued at $350 million and a competitor to OpenAI.
Yeah.
A lot happening.
So much happening. I'd love to sometime down the line do an episode just using a bunch of AI products as well. We talk about a lot of them. I know you and I both use them day to day.
What do you... I'm using Bard every single day of the week.
Yeah, we use... we've been using ChatGPT and stuff a little bit at work, trying to explore if there's any applications. Nothing specific so far. It's good for generating drafts around things that you can use as a starting point. But
in code or...
No, well, we're looking at... potentially using some of the code assistance tools, but I'm talking like, hey, write me a draft email to ask for X, Y, and Z from a supplier.
Yeah.
And then you say, oh, okay, this paragraph's good. The other 3 are rubbish. I'll take them out and put that together.
I've been using it to find competitors of companies. It'll be like,
that's a
who
good
is the
one.
competitor of blah, 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 blah. And then it'll give me 8 and 4 of them will be spot on. And I used it to... I found it very useful for... It's now turning into the episode. I found it very useful for doing something that you would normally have to do an individual search for and repeat it 10 times. So like, who owns company X?
Yeah.
but I would just like now you can do like who owns company X, company Y, company Z, and it'll just like list them all.
Oh, that's a good one. That's such an interesting thing, like getting lists of searches in one search through language. One other thing I did do, I don't know if you can see this picture of a dog on a laptop.
Is that Midas?
No, so it's based on that comic, which is like that This Is Fine, you know, that dog drinking a cup of coffee and the house is burning down. And so I used, I think it was Midjourney for this one, to say, you know, it's the This Is Fine dog, but it's a developer working on a code project that's going very poorly, and generated that image and made stickers for the team just because I thought it was a funny thing to do. So I've been making little logos or mascots for a lot of the big feature releases that we're doing, just to you know, create some stickers and share them around with the team. So that's been really fun as well.
I would love to see the difference in our logo if we made it with Midjourney today versus maybe you would look less like Mona Lisa and I wouldn't be a bird.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, we're probably approaching the point where we should refresh the branding a little bit. I sent our podcast to somebody and they're like, what on earth is going on with your logo? It looks like a classical art discussion podcast.
Yeah. Oh, did you see the thumbnail from the latest episode that I put up?
Chiseling away at some...
Yeah, they are the creepiest old chiselly men I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They had chisels for fingers.
It's very odd. Very odd. One obviously missing company from this list is podcast AI generation as a service. Podcast logo, I mean. Anyway, back to the list. Next one in here, character AI.
This could be a front runner for my $45.
Yeah? Tell me more.
Yeah. Like the ship has sailed a little bit. Like they're valued at $1 billion by A16, but basically they have an LLM that allows you to create your own personal AI companion and train it and bring it up to speed in a way that you want to be able to. So it got famous, like very clickbaity because people made characters and people were chatting with everyone from Aristotle through to Akon, and it's like it's pretty cool and it's like a bit of a gimmick, but I think it really does have some real applications in the software world. In the like corporate world and the enterprise world, as people start to want to improve the experience around their chatbot. No one wants to talk to a chatbot. Someone wants to talk to a bard, or like they want to speak to a character almost, or what was it? A revel? You know that sex one? Revel, yeah.
Yeah, what was that? Replica.
Yeah. So anyway, we won't do a product viewing of Elliot and Tom talking to Replica, don't worry. But yeah, so I really like it I can see the application to it, and the community that they have is just nuts. Like everyone loves it. So I'm like, those two factors combined, plus they own their models and have created their models themselves. I'm like, I like this. I like this where it's going. I'm not sure if they've made any money yet in terms of revenue, but yeah, I think there's enough application that they could turn it on.
Yeah, for sure. It's cool. Yeah. I think there'll be a lot more use cases of this type of technology down the line. Some of the top chatbots are real creepy.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway,
or if all else fails, they could just pivot to being a Revel competitor.
Yeah. Next on the list, Deep L. This is not one that I have seen before. Tell me more.
Yeah, this is one of the unicorns I discovered. They do translation as a service, and everyone's first question is, doesn't Google do that for you for free? But yeah, they are currently valued at over $1 billion and have about $50 million in revenue. So it's not like they've made a mistake, but they seem to be a very well-regarded and secure way to do translation. So their advantage that they state compared to the major tech companies is they have a proprietary architecture. They have specialized training data. They say they basically focus on quality, not quantity, because they know they can't compete on quantity. And then as well, they do a lot of supervised learning rather than unsupervised. So they're focusing on quality is their thing. And they power the translation for companies like Mastodon. They do the Canadian government stuff. Like, yeah, they've done pretty well, it seems.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I don't think I would have invested them in seed stage in that, like, I would have been like, yeah, good luck. Good luck trying to compete with Google, you idiots. And here I am regretting not getting in on the seed stage with them. But yeah, just another great company to discover in this process.
Yeah, definitely.
And I reckon they're just like such a clear, a lot of these companies that are being built as well, like Character to some extent and DeepL, and I think this must be the play for the Anthropics and the AIs, as the AI21s of the world as well, which is like create a model that's so powerful that one of the tech majors just goes, yep, no, we need this, buys you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think that is... I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to Neva a little bit later, but I think whether they're buying for the tech or the people, that sort of stuff is going to become hugely popular as a lot of these companies start to combine. Last one in this section... is Shield AI. Another one I hadn't heard of.
Once again, another unicorn I'd never heard of. They raised like $300 million in June 2022, which like possibly has to be peak startup. June 2022 plus AI was like starting to take off then because Stability came out around that time as well. Stable Diffusion, sorry, no, that was October. But anyway, like AI was just starting to ramp up and get a lot of news. Valuations were still pretty good from a startup point of view, so they must have raised it like the perfect time. But anyway, Shield AI, they do AI for jets.
Cool.
They're like, so they make pilots for a defense application. Like, great way to go after the problem.
Yeah. With all things going on in Ukraine right now, I imagine that there's a lot being spent around drones and any technology around that. So, yeah, not surprising here. It's unfortunate that it took a war to get this sort of stuff happening, but yeah.
And sorry if I offend 55% of our listeners who are in the United States, but if you go to their website, it's such a, like, America website. I love it.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Good. All right, so that was our scale-ups in the core category. So as a reminder, that's big companies that are building AI. As opposed to just using AI in amongst some other offering. So shall we jump? I mean, we've done half of them already, but shall we jump into the early stage core category and talk about the last two in here? So we got two more in this stage. Hippocratic AI being the first of the two. So I came across these looking up on Crunchbase, recent deals. So their self-proclaimed aim is to develop the safest artificial health general intelligence, HGI, which is a term I think they must have coined themselves because it's weird. They raised $50 million from Andreessen Horowitz. And yeah, look, my opinion on this is that if they can crack it, it's amazing, but I really... having worked in health AI for a long time, think that this is going to be an extremely difficult thing to get right. And regulatory, quality issues, trust from the medical community are all going to be front and center here. And that takes a really long time.
Yeah, when I looked at them, my first thought was like, wow, this looks amazing. And then after spending 3 minutes on their website and I couldn't really figure out the use cases, I was like, ooh. This is a big general problem. Like, we're here to revolutionize healthcare. I think they just need to get a use case happening real quick. And, like, look, I'm sure they are, and they're not just putting it on their website. But it's such a big, meaty problem that if they go after all of it, they're trying to solve all of it, they're going to solve nothing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the TGA, which is the Therapeutic Goods Association here in Australia, just released a bunch of guidance around language models in regulated medical devices in the Australian context.
That's the FDA equivalent of Australia for our US listeners.
And a lot of it really was around safety and proving edge cases don't exist and showing what medical data was fed in and proving that it won't hallucinate random cures for ailments and things like that, which I think is a really hard task, especially when you try and go broad. So, look, there's a lot of people that need more healthcare, so I'm hopeful this works out, but I think it's going to be really hard.
Interestingly, they said they don't want they don't want to be. They don't want to do diagnosis. They said AI isn't at the level that it can do diagnosis, and I think they want to solve a lot of like administrative things. So like you've just had surgery and you want to be like, oh, can I drive? How long do I need to wait before I drive? So I think they want to tackle that space rather than, oh no, my elbow's itchy. What should I do, Doctor Hippocratic?
Yeah, look, fair enough. I think there's a company that we'll talk about in a bit called GAN.ai, a fucking brilliant URL that I think could play a bit in this space. But let's close out this early stage core companies.
Do you still own MRI.ai?
No, I don't. I let that expire. So congratulations to whoever picked that one up. That was a decent one to own for a little while. Adept.
Yep.
Or Adept.
Yep, Adept. We've chatted about this one before. It's just to remind you, it's the one that does software, like AI to learn how to use your computer for you. And they did that thing of like you talk to it and tell you to find houses in a certain range or something like that. Just thought I'd bring them up just because they raised $350 million. We don't know the valuation, but it was greater than $1 billion, they said.
Yeah.
This just feels like peak AI raise to me. Once again, it's like, gosh, like what's your use case is going to be? Surely Zapier's doing pretty good at this. Yeah, they are building AI at the core of things to be able to do this, but I just don't really know what they do.
Yeah, there's another one on this list called Orbi AI, who raised $5 million this week, who do a similar thing. It's like they monitor repetitive tasks that you do and try and find ways to automate them. So
great.
Yeah,
like at least say that. And like, raising $5 million on that, like, you know, when we raised money, we had no idea what we were doing to begin with. Like, you start general and you go, like, you can start general and go specific, but when you're raising $350 million, like,
yeah, absolutely. You want to have some certainty around where things are going. Okay, so that wraps up our early stage core AI companies. Next, let's dive into early stage AI as a feature companies. This is by far our biggest category. And there's some names in here that we've talked about before, and then some others that I found recently. So
can I just comment very quickly on that? You said where this is by far our biggest. Like, yeah, this just goes back to our big discussion, which is like it's going to be pretty hard to build a moat around an AI company. And I think that just says by the number of ones that we found easily with AI as a feature.
Yeah, absolutely.
As the feature.
And for a lot of these, I picked one out of many that were doing the same thing. For
absolutely.
A lot of these companies, there's already a whole bunch of competition. So that discussion around moats, I think, is really valid. It's going to be so hard to win just based on your AI. You need some of these traditional moats around network effects or speed to market or anything else that's going to keep users around.
Yeah. So anyway, let's jump into it. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start from the top. So we've got Poe. So we've talked about Poe on the show before. Poe on the show. It's from the team at Quora, or at least some people that either are or were at Quora. And
the founder of Quora.
There you go. Lets you interact with a bunch of chatbots on your phone. It's cool. I played with it a lot. Wouldn't pay money for it. And now that ChatGPT has a mobile app and Bard will have a mobile app before long and everything else, this one I find really hard to see the moat. I mean, if their whole thing is, we just did it because it seemed fun, got a bunch of users, or maybe let's make LLM developers pay to launch their app on our platform and get a bunch of testing done. Maybe, but feels like a very crowded space already.
Yeah, it feels like to me like I have a Hacker News app on my phone, which is not Hacker News. Someone just built a wrapper around the Hacker News website, and they can always asking me to they're giving me the little features, tiny feature improvements here, which is like, and they're like, pay $4 a month for this feature. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. You just literally redirect me to Hacker News in an easier way.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like that with Poe at the moment, but hey, it's the founder of Quora. He's he's got enough fuck you money to be able to do whatever he wants. So
yep, 100%. and an interesting data set to build some specific stuff on. So we shall see where that one goes.
Ask Felix.
Ask Felix.
Never heard of them.
So I went to a AI pitching day a couple of weeks ago, and this was one of the ones that came up. So
where was the hey everyone, I'm live here at AI pitching day.
I did consider it, but it was a bit of a weird event. There was a lot of technical difficulties with the people running the event, so I just sat up the back and heckled a little bit. But yeah, look, Ask Felix. I think it's a really interesting prospect. Their website doesn't do the best job of explaining their pitch, but they wanted to be able to ingest spreadsheets and PDFs and other sort of business critical data, and then use LLMs to ask questions about the data that result in visualizations. So here's a bunch of receipts that we've received. Hey, can you tell me the average spend at all of the different places that we spend money? And cool. It'd go through that, extract the data, transform it into something useful, and then spit it out the other side. It was, it was quite cool. I think they're going to have a tough time competing if they're not quick, because it's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, that seems cool, makes a lot of sense, and every person with a spreadsheet and ChatGPT probably has thought of this idea. So, yeah, they're going to have to really, really race.
Do they have a specific use case? Like, hey, we're here to help supply chain companies better visualize their data, and we just go after...
Not that I could see, or not that they defined. I think they're still pretty early, so I think they really wanted to show that they had broad applications before narrowing down into one area.
Yeah.
But look, good luck to them.
Yeah.
It's nice to see, early stage stuff coming out all over the place.
Alrighty, let's talk about Neeva that is no longer to be.
Yes. So I struggled as to whether to put them in the early stage bucket or not, because they've been around for a while. Neeva was a AI search engine started by an ex-Google employee, and it was all about having your own search engine and doing a bunch of other things like that. But they recently wound down. They sent out an announcement, I think in the last 1 or 2 weeks, saying, hey, this isn't working. We're going to wind the company down. And then it was announced that they are getting purchased by Snowflake, the mega data platform company, likely for the talent. So, yeah, an interesting one. AI search engine. I mean, competing on search just seems like such a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, you must love pain if you do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought as this article that I read on it said, the tools Neeva built for consumers were uniquely suited for enterprise needs, and Neeva couldn't beat Google and Microsoft with a better product experience.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole ChatGPT is going to kill Google. No way. They're just even if they move slow, they have such brand momentum that they're going to win for at least the foreseeable future. Anyway,
good. Well done to the Neeva team for an exit, even though, they are definitely early stage because their product now doesn't exist. So.
True.
Pre-product.
But yeah, look, good luck to them, good luck to the team, and this stuff happens.
Snowflake's a great place.
Yeah,
great
absolutely.
company to work for, it sounds like.
Absolutely. So yeah, next on the list, Orbi AI. So Orbi AI is an AI platform designed to bring the autocomplete experience to everyday business users and automate mundane tasks. So this is the one we talked about just a minute ago as a competitor to Adapt, and early stage, raise 5 mil, monitors stuff that you do regularly, tries to find ways to automate them using AI. I think it's cool. There's so much repetitive crap that I'm sure all of us do as knowledge workers, that if this could automate it, I'd be very keen.
Yeah, it still blows my mind that I have to do my expenses.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that.
There's an app for it, but it's take a photo, put the money, put it in, classify it.
Yep.
send it to the right approver. Ugh.
Yep, 100%.
And like, there's people in the company who are a lot more senior than me that travel a lot more and have a lot more expenses to do. Anyway, Orbi, do expenses.
Yep. I think it's good. They're a strong contender for my $45, I reckon.
Love that. Yeah, that's very cool. What's up next?
Next up is GAN.ai. So this one is another. This is probably the top contender in my book about my $45. They allow you to generate personalized copies of a single video recording with changed variables in the voice and lip sync. So some of the examples they show was a personalized welcome message from your doctor when you book an appointment, where you can change the person's name, what they're coming to see them for, and the date and time that they're coming, and send them a video. And, you can do it in different languages. You can do all sorts of stuff.
That's so cool. When you call up like a hotline and they're like, please enter in your customer ID to like log on, and they're like, hello, Thomas White, and they sound like a robot.
Yeah.
If they can get rid of that, they've got my $45.
100%. So they also had some examples, which was like a knockoff of Cameo with like celebrities saying things, which I think is another great use case. Advertising, being able to personalize video advertising based on who's watching it and where they are. Seems like a really good idea. Dubbed video overseas, massive market. I think it's awesome. My big question mark around this is what's their unique point of difference? Because I know there's other people working in this space.
My biggest question is, what's your bank account details? I'm sending you my $45. Also great asset in GAN.ai. Like even if they go belly up, surely that URL's worth it.
Yes. Next on the list, one that I absolutely fucking hate, but it'll probably do well, is Ferretly.
Love this name.
Ferretly.com. So they recently raised an undisclosed amount. They are an AI-powered social media screening tool for people looking to hire people.
Wow.
I hate the premise. I hate that people would look through my Twitter and decide whether to hire me. But it probably has legs, let's be honest.
Do you reckon this would get a fine in the EU based off our
I think so.
last week's episode?
Yeah. It probably wouldn't meet the mark on that regulatory stuff. And
I reckon they've got to be really careful that they don't get...
Yeah.
Companies don't get sued for bias with this.
100%. Like, I can see the good version. Like, hey, this person put a video up on TikTok of them torturing a rabbit. Like, are you sure that's who you want running your petting zoo?
Yeah.
But it's not going to end there. No way.
But it's also like, what, as a company, like, what's your... And I actually have a lot of issues with companies not allowing people to do things on social media and stuff like that. I'm like, you don't own that person. And like sports stars getting fined for speaking out against the organization. I'm like, nah, that seems unconstitutional to me.
Yeah.
And you can see this going to a weird place as well, where it's like, oh, they have a different political affiliation.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, some of the examples they give is like drug and alcohol related images. Like if I can't post a picture on Instagram of me holding up a beer with my mates, and then I don't think this is okay.
Yeah.
Let me try and condense my thinking here. I think if this is bringing up potentially risky
red
behavior,
flags.
red flags
It's a red flag
for
fund.
somebody to look at, sure. But if you're trying to hire 1,000 people in a month, you're not going to review it. You're going to say, pick the people with the least red flags. And that may well have so many false positives that people just miss out,
Yep.
So, yeah. I don't like this business as a concept.
Yeah. I think they should pivot to social media auditing. I'd be happy to be like, hey, can I pay you $10 and you review everything for me and just tell me where like things are a little bit like from when I was awkward and 13 and didn't know how to use social media.
Yeah, 100%. Or just the exact opposite. It's such a better thing. Like I'd pay to just be like, hey, just purge my stuff. It's fine. Like I don't care. I'm not attached to any of this stuff. probably don't agree with half the stuff I said 10 years ago because I was dumb and naive. So, yeah. But yeah, Ferretly. We'll see where they go. Hopefully they self-find some things. Like, their founder gets flagged and it makes them question their decisions. Obviously not, though. Like, look, all the best. Hopefully they can build a version of this that's not cooked, but I'm going to be hard.
Might try and get a free trial and just do it on myself.
Yeah, good idea. Next one off the bat, Spellbook. Spellbook.legal.
Yeah.
So they raised $10 million. It's generative AI to draft contracts. So makes a lot of sense. Massive space. But my biggest worry about this is, if I know anything about lawyers, that they're going to spend a whole bunch of time reviewing documents. And in the times that I've worked with lawyers in the past, it's always faster to get them to write documents than to review documents. And if this creates documents that they then have to review, it might just be slower.
Yep.
Yeah.
And on the back of that, I thought we should talk about Harvey AI as well, which isn't sounds like a competitor in their space, and another, I'm going to say, peak hype raise. But basically, they've gone after those use cases where everyone's call center jobs. They're gone with these very easy things that everyone can see. Law has always been brought up as and I'm always skeptical about those as well, because I can understand big companies tackling them, but I always get a little bit skeptical when small companies go after them, just because and when people who don't know what they're talking about say that it's a big problem, because I don't think they understand the nuances of how big the problem is and why the problem exists in the first place. So when people simple solutions to problems that are nationwide are generally not going to work. And that's what I put this into. But basically what they do is they build LLMs for law firms. They've managed to sign up a bunch of partners on trials and exclusive launches and things like that. So they got PwC. They've built it on top of GPT-4, so they haven't built the models themselves. They raised $20 million at $150 million valuation after 6 months. 6 months after raising $5 million. OpenAI has invested, which I think we should talk about as an interesting business model for Anthropic and OpenAI, which is just seed startups. Now that you've got a head start, seed startups to build on top to win the developer community. Look, if they can make the partnerships work, go for it. But I know what you mean. Are these just going to create more things for people to review? And is there going to be enough trust in these things to allow them to review 100-page documents and distill them into 10 points and go, yep, it's all good? Yeah. And if everyone has these things and they're equally as good, and they're all distilling 100-page documents into 10-page documents, doesn't that just mean we could all just move to 10-page documents? Anyway, I'm skeptical of this.
Yeah, no, me too.
And one of their founders looks like the ultimate thread boy, so giving startup advice after 6 months in the job. So
there was I can't remember where it is. I can't find it now, but there was a tweet that I saw from somebody which was talking about thread boy on Twitter who can't string two beats together, talks about how AI is now going to completely revolutionize the music industry and make all artists redundant. That's sort of so funny. And it's true. People have such naive ideas about how all this stuff works. Anyway. So that wraps out that category. We got one left. We're making good time here. I think we're gonna land right around where we usually do at the 1 hour mark. So
we're very good at that.
Scale up companies using AI as a feature. I got 2 in here that have raised recently. There's a bunch of others. But we'll focus on these 2, and then we'll close this out talking about what the big companies are doing in this space, the Googles, the Netflixes, and all of that sort of stuff. But first one in here is Builder AI. So Builder AI is a no-code app creation platform that uses AI to let you build apps. They just raised $250 million. I just have no faith in no-code development as an entire sector. It's great for making demos, and like things like Zapier are cool and fun, but I think for this stuff to work, you need to be generating a ton of valuable businesses on top of your platform, and I can't see anybody building the next Facebook on top of a no-code AI platform.
I can see lots of MVP. It's like, I don't know. I think the comparative here is Figma. I am way more powerful at creating digital images now that Figma and generative AI exists, but it just creates a starting point for the professionals to take over.
Yeah. I agree with that. It's good for those sort of like mucking around type things, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they've raised a bunch of money. They must be doing something right. And at the end of the day, I would say, dear listener, that that is the takeaway here is all of these companies are raising money from intelligent people, so we shouldn't assume that they're all stupid. They're probably doing things that aren't in their Twitter bio description, which should not be ignored. Anyway, last one in this list. It's a health tech one. I hadn't heard of these folks before, but they've been around since 2015, called Safely You. They just raised they've raised 90 million to date. I think they raised about 10 million recently. It's an artificial intelligence enabled fall detection and prevention system for dementia care. I like the premise. I know some people who worked on a fall detection piece of tech, physical hardware, when we were doing Pepster. So when was that? Like 10, 12 years ago, at least. But yeah, look, it's a big market, and it's only getting bigger. It's just regulatory is so hard in this space, and it always comes down to like, what if you miss something? What about the one fall that you didn't pick up?
Man, I remember when someone was doing this when we were in the Pepster days. They were like, it was about the time that like Fitbits came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is going to revolutionize falls."
Yeah.
We're never going to have another person fall on the ground and lay there for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Ever again with Fitbits.
Yeah, but it still happens. So look, I hope these guys nail it, because it's an important space. How many people have one bad fall and it really sends them on a downhill.
Yeah, I lost like the root cause of me losing 2 of my 3 grandparents that I lost was falls. Yeah.
So hopefully we see a lot of stuff there. There's probably like 24 other health tech ones that we could talk about, given that's a space we know about, but let's not.
Yeah. We'll save that for another episode. Maybe that's a good idea. We'll pick an industry. Because I think as well it'd be good to do like what's happening in the chip space as well, off the back of the news in NVIDIA this week, having the like
salt and vinegar
yeah, chippies.
Hungry now. Anyway, let's wrap this one out so that I can go and buy some chippies.
I want chippies.
What are the big companies doing? So we got a few listed here. You want to take us through?
The reason why I just thought I might intro why I wanted to speak about this is, so we've been talking about the feature space, right? AI as a feature. And I was thinking as well, like, okay, these companies that are building features and they're not actually going AI, what are they trying to do? They're fundamentally trying to like add in AI into already existing use cases, right?
Yeah.
And either improve the process or speed up the process or make it cheaper, blah, 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 blah. And there's going to be a few out there that actually create a standalone use case where it's like, and it's built off GPT-4 and it's going to be great. Like there'll be little like almost extensions in your browser that, but then there's not going to be any massive companies out of this, I think. And the reason is that like if they get useful, they're going to need to be part of a software stack or some other form of software. And a classic example would be generative AI in Adobe. And so like if you manage to create a successful company in this space as a feature, I just really think that you're either going to be competing against one of these major players, or you're ultimately building just to get bought by them.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about what are the other big tech players doing that aren't Google, Microsoft, and Facebook to some extent that we talk about every week. So I just literally scrolled down the biggest tech companies in the world by market capitalization and put a few on the list. So we've got Adobe, we've got Salesforce, we've got Samsung, we've got Oracle, we've got Netflix, we've got SAP, we've got Shopify, we've got Uber.
Cool.
Let's go. So starting with Adobe, and we'll start with Adobe. One is because they're way bigger than I thought, but they released Adobe Firefly this week and something called Sensei, which is all their generative, and it looked pretty cool. Look, if they'd released it 2 years ago, it would have blown everyone's mind, but now with all the great demos, releases, and products we have, it's kind of, yep, we were waiting for this. Ironically, I've never seen a more boring keynote speech to release something from which I find funny from a design company. Like, it was just a dude talking at the camera the entire time. There wasn't that much showmanship in any way. There wasn't any design or anything. I was it's kind of off brand. But anyway, looks like they develop it in house. I thought. I popped in our Discord this week. I was like, who's going to buy Midjourney? And I thought Adobe might be up there for buying them, but maybe they don't need to. But also they did only do a demo to a news company and not really release it yet. So yeah, they could have had some people in the background magically creating these images on DALL-E for all we know.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, look, I think Scott Belsky is in charge of a lot of this stuff within Adobe, and I feel like he knows what he's doing. So I think Adobe has a really good shot here of putting out some really good stuff and integrating it in a way that makes it win the distribution game.
Oh, they're gonna, absolutely. Next one is Salesforce. So Salesforce has Einstein GPT, which is AI for CRM. I can't find out I couldn't find out from 30 seconds of research whether they built this internally or whether it's built off the back of something from OpenAI, but makes sense.
Yeah, the other one I've seen, given that they own Slack now, is there's a bunch of AI tools coming to Slack around, you jump into a channel and it'll give you an AI summary of everything that's been talked about up to this point, or you can ask questions based on discussions that have been had in public channels and things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me.
I'd love to see the summary of the banter chat that every company has. This is the banter chat.
Yeah.
Elliot gets roasted 3 times a week on average by the CEO.
15 HR violations per hour.
Yes. Samsung. I didn't get some research in before the show on this. Do you know anything about Samsung other than they've got some big they're making lots of chippies?
They're doing stuff in their phones for sure, similar to what Google's doing across camera and a bunch of editing stuff. Nothing in particular that has caught my eye, but yeah, there's definitely stuff happening.
Yeah. Next one was Netflix, and I thought I'd bring this up because they've been doing AI for a long time, but you just don't really see it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is still the case for them. They're doing a lot of back office AI. So they do thumbnail personalizations. They do a lot of optimization of data storage and data streaming.
Yep.
So not too much hype around what they're doing there. But I think there's probably I don't know. We've talked about it before. We'll see the first generative AI cartoon or show release soon. There's all those trailers now where have you seen the Lord of the Rings one in the style of Wes Anderson?
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you can imagine some of the other tools we talked about that are doing voiceovers and lip syncing. If Netflix can bring shows, like Korean dramas are now one of the top categories on Netflix.
Yeah,
there's a certain audience that will never watch a show with subtitles. If they could automatically dub 15 years of back catalogue for a Korean soap opera, there's probably value in that.
If you were Netflix, would you be sitting there trying to build it yourself or sitting ready with the checkbook to snap something up?
Checkbook for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I ran out of research time. But do you know anything else from any of the others on the list?
Any of the other big ones? Not off the top of my head, to be honest. I mean, Uber is still trying to make some ways into self-driving and that sort of stuff, but I don't know if that's going anywhere.
If you go to the engineering blog, their releases were February 23, and then the one before that was August 22.
Yeah.
So
they don't put a whole lot of stuff out.
It seems like they might be doing some stuff on data.
Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, build your feature, sell to Netflix is the takeaway from that section.
Is it? Absolutely. Well, mate, we've gone through the list. Now back to our original question.
Yeah.
Your $45. Where would you put it?
Am I allowed to change the stage? Because but I'm not sure whether I would have picked it at this stage, and I don't know whether I'm just getting excited by A16Z being involved. But I think I would put it into either my top three. My top three for my $45 are Character.ai, Mosaic ML,
yep,
and then Gear.ai. Now I know that one's in your top three probably, so I won't pick Gear.ai. I'm going to put my money into Mosaic ML.
Okay.
Yep. I think the ship sailed a little bit on the old Character.ai. I like what they're doing. They're probably my favorite, but they got $1 billion valuation already. They got a lot of growing to do.
Yep.
Mosaic ML, I don't know. They're just like flying under the radar. They're niche. They're creating. They've got AI as core. Like they actually build AI products, but they're also working in the infrastructure. So there's a bit of a developer play in it. So, yeah, Mosaic ML. That's where I'll put mine.
All right.
My $45.
Nice. Yeah, as you said, GAN AI is definitely my pick out of this. I think what they're doing is really intriguing. The biggest risk I see is somebody else coming along and doing the exact same thing, but they look like they're making headway. So my $45 is going into GAN.ai.
Fantastic. Well, I'm putting a reminder in my to-do list after this for 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year. And we'll check in every year. And if someone's out of the race, the other person wins. So if anyone goes bankrupt in that time, or we're all right. But at the 3 year mark, someone gets some chippies as the winner.
Sounds good to me, mate. Sounds good.
$45 worth of chippies.
Yep. Yeah.
With the current inflation rate, that won't be that many chippies.
One snack size bag. Very good, very good. All right, mate. Well, look, we're almost at the 1 hour mark. This has been fun. I like to go through these companies. It's cool to see how much is out there, but we should let our dear listeners get back to their day, building their own AI companies, hopefully.
Exactly.
Thank you all so much for listening. I think, subscribe and share and all that, but do come join the Discord. We're keen to have more people there and have these conversations throughout the week around what everyone's working on. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode. If you're liking this content, make sure you subscribe and like so we keep on going. And if you have any questions, make sure you hit us up on Twitter, join our Discord, or leave them in the comments below. Thanks again.